The first words out of her mouth were a slap in the face. "Mr. Henderson, your late fines have accrued to $10,000. My heart seized, a cold fist in my chest, as the slick-backed woman, Brenda, the self-proclaimed HOA president, delivered her verdict with a chillingly polite smile. I stared at her, then at the clipboard she held, then back at her face, which was a mask of practiced disdain. This wasn't an audit, it was an ambush. This wasn't about community rules, it was about power. And the air, thick and still with the summer heat, suddenly crackled with a cruel, undeniable electricity. Can you believe the audacity? This woman, this absolute Karen of a human, was trying to strong-arm a man who had more years in this neighborhood than she had on this earth. My grandfather, a man who built this house with his own 2 hands, his voice trembling as he tried to reason with her. But I replaced the mailbox, Brenda. Just like you said. The old one was falling apart. A deep, rattling sigh escaped him, a sound that carried the weight of 80 years. Brenda didn't even flinch. She just tilted her head, her smile widening into something predatory. That was not the approved mailbox, Mr. Henderson. And you know the rules. Unauthorized modifications are subject to a $10 a day fine, retroactive to the original date of noncompliance. $10 a day. For 3 years. A cold dread seeped into the very soil beneath our feet. I looked at the 2 stooges behind her, the muscle and the note-taker, their faces blank. They were cogs in her machine. This was about more than a mailbox. It was a hostile takeover of a man's dignity, and a shakedown, pure and simple. The sun beat down, but I felt a sudden chill, a sense of pure, unadulterated injustice. How could anyone be so heartless? The sound of a car door slamming shattered the tense silence, and a figure emerged from a beaten-up sedan a few houses down. It was David, a young tech guy who had just moved in, and he was holding his phone in a way that seemed deliberate. Brenda's icy composure wavered for the first time. Her eyes narrowed, flicking between David and my grandfather. "This is a private matter, young man. Please return to your property." Her voice, which had been so calmly cruel, now had a razor's edge. David just smiled, a disarming, almost lazy grin, and kept walking towards us. "Is it, Brenda? Because it looks an awful lot like harassment to me. And a lot of people seem to think so, too." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What are you talking about?" Brenda demanded, her voice rising. David didn't answer her directly. Instead, he turned his phone towards my grandfather and me, the screen a dizzying mess of comments scrolling by. "My grandfather is a good man," he said, his voice low and steady, a stark contrast to Brenda's screeching. "And I've just spent the last 2 weeks getting to know our neighborhood's rules. Not the rules you made up, but the actual ones. Funny thing, Brenda. Your name isn't on the official HOA registry. And this HOA you run? It doesn't exist." The words hung in the air like a detonation. My grandfather's gasp was a sharp intake of breath. The 2 stooges behind Brenda exchanged a quick, panicked glance. Brenda's face went from a mask of arrogance to a theatrical show of righteous indignation. "That's a lie. A slanderous lie. We're a new, unlisted chapter, with a special mandate to correct." Her voice trailed off as David held up his other hand, a small, worn folder in his grip. It was the original deed of the house, the one with the covenant, the one she swore she had a copy of. "And the original covenant," David continued, his eyes locked on hers, "states in Section 7b that all mailbox replacements must be approved by a quorum of 5 board members. And you, Brenda, you're the only one on this board. He paused, a cruel silence hanging in the air. "But don't worry. I have the live stream on a loop. Every single word you said, every single threat you made. It's all there, for the world to see." The sound of the wind chimes on the porch next door, usually a pleasant tinkle, now seemed like a frantic, desperate clatter. The confrontation spiraled from there, a public spectacle unfolding in real time. Brenda, cornered and exposed, started to unravel. You can't do this," she shrieked, her voice a raw, ugly sound, the polished facade of her power cracking and crumbling. "I'm the one who keeps this neighborhood clean. I'm the one who makes sure your property values stay high." The absurdity of it was laughable, yet my grandfather looked at her with a profound sadness. "I just wanted to fix my mailbox, Brenda," he said, his voice barely a whisper. The stooge with the clipboard, a nervous sweat beading on his forehead, quietly began to back away. The other, the muscle, just stood there, his eyes wide, looking like a deer in the headlights. The street, which moments ago had been silent, now started to fill with neighbors, drawn by the commotion and the buzzing live stream on their phones. "What's going on?" a woman from across the street yelled, her phone held high. "We're watching this online." "You're a fraud, Brenda." The tide had turned, a flood of public scorn washing over her. Brenda looked around, a wild look in her eyes. Her carefully constructed lie, her little kingdom of intimidation, was burning down, and she was watching it all unfold in the unforgiving light of the digital age. The sound of a car braking sharply down the street, as another neighbor arrived, seemed to signal the final act. With her audience gone and her carefully crafted lies exposed, Brenda's composure completely shattered. The cool, calculated smile she'd worn so confidently was replaced by a contorted mess of fury and terror. Her face flushed, she let out a strangled cry, a sound like a wounded animal. No, it's not fair," she whimpered, her hands clenching and unclenching at her sides. She looked down at the clipboard, at the fine she had so gleefully levied against my grandfather, and then back up at the growing crowd of neighbors, all of them witnesses to her public humiliation. The stooge with the clipboard had made his escape, and the muscle was now just standing there, looking at his shoes, wanting to be anywhere else but here. The comments on David's phone screen were a relentless cascade of vitriol, a digital mob turning on its target with a vengeance. Brenda's shoulders began to shake, and a small, pathetic sob escaped her lips. The power she'd wielded, the control she'd craved, was gone. It had never been real. It was a house of cards built on fear and deception, and David's phone, streaming to the world, was the gust of wind that had finally knocked it all down. She finally sank to her knees, a broken figure on the well-maintained lawn, her head in her hands, her sobs echoing faintly in the now silent street. Was this what she wanted? This level of attention? The regret, the pure, unadulterated shame, was not just visible, it was palpable. It hung in the air, a thick, suffocating cloud of her own making, and we all watched her drown in it. The police arrived not long after, summoned by one of the neighbors. David showed them the video, and Brenda, still on her knees, could only offer incoherent, pathetic denials. The inspiring conclusion wasn't just about her downfall, it was about the community rising from the ashes of her tyranny. The neighbors gathered around my grandfather, offering hugs and support, a collective sigh of relief as if a heavy weight had been lifted from their chests. The true HOA president, a kind woman named Maria from 2 streets over, hurried to our house, apologizing profusely for Brenda's actions. She brought with her an official letter, a simple, beautiful thing, stating that my grandfather was in full compliance with all community standards. The $10,000 fine was, of course, gone. My grandfather, his eyes now welling with tears, didn't shed them out of sadness or fear, but out of an overwhelming sense of gratitude and relief. David, the unlikely hero, simply shrugged. "Just doing my part," he said with a humble smile. The whole incident served as a stark reminder of the power of community, of the ability for one person to stand up for what's right, and the unforgiving nature of the internet when justice is on the line. It's a story of an old man's dignity being restored, of a scammer's public reckoning, and of a neighborhood finding its voice. But it also makes me wonder. In a world where technology can expose injustice in real time, does the public humiliation of a person like Brenda constitute justice, or is it simply a different kind of punishment? Is it truly right to share someone's most shameful moment with the world, even if they've committed a wrong?